Lush, and I'm here outside the Hub Culture Pavilion, the ice house, and it's feeling a little icy.
Beginning to.
Tim Brown from IDEO, thanks very much for stopping by.
Thanks for inviting me over.
So I'm really interested in how you redesign systems. And I'm interested especially in the education systems that you've been working in Peru. Tell me about how you looked at education as a sort of from scratch.
Well, we were very fortunate to get the opportunity of working with a startup school system there called Innova that wanted to try and bring low-cost, really high-quality education to the emerging middle class in Peru. And at the time we started to work with them, they had one school, and we got to really think about the whole system and how it might be able to deliver a new way of thinking about education. So making the best of blended learning, blended learning being where we use computers some of the time.
Okay.
You've probably heard of the Khan Academy, Sulkan. So his is a blended learning approach. In fact, we took a lot of his curriculum and used it.
Okay.
But we got to design the campuses to be more collaborative and new kinds of classrooms. We got to design the syllabus and the curriculum and the underlying business model and the way the teachers are trained. So we really got to look at every aspect, both of the experience for the kids and the teachers, but of the whole school system. And it's very rare that you get an opportunity to do that. But when you do, then you can make quite a difference. And we're now well over 30 schools, thousands of students, and a huge uptick in academic standards. So all for $120 a month per student, which is very low cost.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
What lessons would you take from there that you could apply to schools in the United States?
Well, the challenge with education in the United States is it's an existing system.
Right.
It's very rare to get a chance to redesign the whole thing. But it is important to look at. I think what we learn from there is you need to look at every piece of the system, and so we're trying to find places where we can look at parts of the system in the United States a little differently. So, for instance, one program that we've got going on right now in the United States, something called the Teachers Guild, and that is an online platform where we have teachers collaborating together to bring innovation back into their own classrooms. Basically to help give teachers the confidence that they can be creative and innovative in their own classroom. So we've got thousands of teachers working together across the United States and actually beyond now, sharing ideas, working on design challenges, bringing those back into the classroom. And that's an opportunity to work directly with teachers, which we don't always get. So the Teachers Guild is one example of at least trying to look at a part of the system that hasn't been looked at so much in the past.
Are you ever able to change existing systems, and if so, how do you get creativity in there?
Well, if you think about it, we're always changing existing systems, and one of the big systems that's not education that I've been spending some time on here at Davos is how we're having to change the way we think about mobility in cities. As autonomous vehicle technology starts to become available, we're going to have to recraft the way that we think about mobility in cities with a mixture of autonomous vehicles, autonomous buses perhaps, public transport. But if we think about it, our cities have been recrafted in that way many times before. I mean, there are most cities here in Europe who were around before the automobile was around, right? So they got recrafted to deal with that system where we're having to do it all over again. So we have plenty of examples of it happening in the past, but it does take a systems design approach. It takes, in the case of mobility, governments, city governments, state governments working with the manufacturers, the technology producers, and citizens and businesses to try and create, hopefully, future cities which are even better to live in than they are today.
What are some of the things that we have to think about as we redesign cities for autonomous vehicles?
Well, I mean, we start to think about some of the opportunities we create. For instance, when we don't have lots of private vehicles parked for 96% of the time, which is what happens to most private vehicles. In America, the average private vehicle has 3 parking spaces made available to it. Right. Think about all of that real estate that starts getting freed up when those vehicles are actually on the road all the time because they're driving themselves. They don't need to be parked when they're not being used. Suddenly we get places, well, maybe we can use them for parks instead of parking, or maybe we can use them for other useful things in cities. So that's an example of how new opportunities get made by new technology like this.
Tim, thanks so much for stopping by the Hub Culture Pavilion. I'm Edie Lush.